right, welcome. We are going to do a couple of special episodes between now and the new year. And this is our Christmas special leading up to Christmas. We're only 2 weeks away from Christmas. And it's an exciting time because once again, we're together in person together, which is really, really cool. It's Life Change Transformation Christmas special coming to you from Jasper, Alberta, Canada. And it is such an honor to be here with Maeve, and it's such a great time around this season. We're strategic planning for the next year, and these next 3 episodes are designed really to take some of the stress that you're maybe experiencing over the Christmas season and the holiday season and the New Year's season, and really let's transform that into something that's more positive, that will get you to go forward in your life, that will allow you to see things from a different perspective. Because ultimately, right now, once Christmas is over, it's New Year's resolutions. And what does next year look like? And we all know that New Year's resolutions sometimes fail if you don't have the right plan in place. And so hopefully we can help you with that and get you to think about that through the next 3 episodes. And then after that, our episode numbers will pick up from where we left off, and we'll continue on with episode numbers from there on. So that's kind of the thought. That's where we're at.
Exactly.
So the Christmas special, we're going to talk about Christmas. What does that mean for you?
Well, for me, it means family.
Mm-hmm.
It often means a lot of cooking and prepping and entertaining. And it can sometimes mean expense. And, that varies sometimes with where we are as a family and
Yep.
the ages of our
Yep.
kids and things, for me anyway. But yeah, it has moments of pure joy and
Absolutely.
moments of huge stress. So yeah, it's a bit of a mix and gather 'em.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Christmas is very similar for us as well. Like, where I'm at in my life, in my stage, you guys, is that where I've got an older teenager who's almost an adult. So, he understands that it's about family time, and it's not about the gifts and the Santa Claus traditions and the various things that happen over the holiday season for those of you, for us anyway, for me. And I do love the family time. It's really important for us, because I live so far away from my actual extended family, mom and dad, brothers, my sister, and my brother-in-law. We don't get together over Christmas as much.
Mm-hmm.
And so those gatherings aren't as important when it comes to squeezing them all in, showing up for them all. There is cooking, there's baking, and it's a really joyous time of the year for us. But it doesn't always wasn't that way.
Yeah.
Depending on where you're at in your life or where you're at in your situation, if you're listening in, it may be a point of stress.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, to be honest, no matter how great it is, over, in Ireland anyway, it lasts a good 2 weeks, that kind of whole season thing. So over the course of the 2 weeks, no matter how much you love it, there's going to be moments of, intense emotion or stress or pressure. So yeah, so I guess while over the next couple of weeks we will be talking about getting into the new year and how we leave this year and start the next, but I guess today is really about how do you thrive through the holidays themselves.
And I think about leading up to Christmas, there's the gifts potentially that you have to buy, so there's going to be a financial potential concern or crunch, or a new budget you have to come up with over the next couple of weeks. Maybe you're hosting a family gathering, and you're going to have 20 people in your home, and it could be a point of potential stress for you. But ultimately, what we want to talk about is some strategies around how do we frame those moments? How do we, look at it in a different way? So I'm going to go talk about financial stuff right away. I'm going to talk about that. I think it's a big one for most people. Maybe that's for a lot of people. I wouldn't say most. For a lot of people, I think that financial crunch, especially right now, at least in Alberta, in Canada, we've noticed an uptick in prices. We've noticed all that stuff has happened and we can't control any of that stuff. Of course, it's outside of our control.
Yeah.
But if you're seeing that and you're realizing that Christmas is now, instead of costing you, let's say it's $500, maybe it's going to cost you $1,000, and maybe the $1,000 isn't there.
Yeah.
Right. And so what does that mean? And so I think, that stress, or that I don't know where that money's going to come from. feeling, I think can be really detrimental
Yeah, to our experience.
to our experiences, right?
Yeah.
Um, so one of the things I think that can really help people reframe in the financial side of things is just that I'm choosing to do this instead of this.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a simple saying,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you're like, I get it, your kids are going to want certain things and you're going to want to have, for the kids, for example, but maybe for you and maybe you and your partner, or for me, for example, me and Colette, we always chose, because back in before the last couple of years, we really didn't have the money for Christmas. So we put our money into our son,
Okay.
and we chose to buy things we needed. So we knew we were going to buy tea and coffee, because that's something we buy every year. So we bought that as a gift, and it became our stocking.
Okay.
Because,
Great idea.
right? Because we thought, well, we're going to buy tea and coffee anyway. So we're choosing now to buy that as our gift,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so anything we would need moving forward, we would make a list. Okay, all the things we're going to need. What can we? And that's how we did our Christmas. And it worked out. It works out quite well, because you're still opening gifts. The kids love it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they don't know the difference,
No.
but yet, you're not really breaking the bank, because that's something you're going to buy anyway.
Sure. Sure. And I think a phrase that I've learned to use to help with some of that is that it's not in the budget this year, or it's not in the budget for now. And so it's not like we can't afford it, or it's, that it's like beyond us in some way. But again, it's taking control back, that it's not in the budget just now.
Right. And so you may be thinking, well, that doesn't work, or maybe that seems weird. I would just say, try it on.
Yeah.
Try it on. Give it a chance, or give it an experiment. Do it for a week or 8 days and see what that feels like as you go through your day. And maybe, like I say, maybe the kids want, I don't know. I mean, my son was a superhero transformer kid.
My boys too. Yeah.
Back in the day. And so we did our best to find him certain things that would fit that bill, right? And we wouldn't buy him everything on his list, of course, because there always had to be something for next year or his birthday, or other things down the road. But it was one of those things where he never went without either. That's the other thing, is that his grandparents were great, and they helped out with those lists and stuff.
Yeah, actually, if I could just add to that, just again, just going from family strategies that we developed over the years as well, was, maybe having Secret Santa, so that instead of everybody giving presents to one kid and just feeling like it was too much, and the kids get really crazy with it, and don't really enjoy all of it because it's all too much together. So that was one of the things we did with aunts and uncles and everything, that they just bought for one kid, and then you got one decent present for that kid, and everybody got something they really wanted.
Right.
So again, that just putting a bit of structure and manners around it makes it easier for everybody.
Absolutely.
And I think also it means that you can be more deliberate and conscious in the choices of the gifts you do buy.
Right.
And one decent gift that's wanted, in my opinion, again, each to your own. If you're listening, you might have very different choices to make, but one decent thing that you really like and want to me is way more enjoyable than multiple things that I'm maybe thinking I might regift.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah. And like, once again, if the focus too, like, and I know it's hard sometimes to change the focus, but if we all believe, I truly believe that Christmas is about the connection with the family. It's not so much about what you get.
Yeah, for sure.
And although there's some people in your life that maybe gifting is really, really important. So depending on your love language, well, depending upon how strongly you feel about this, if your love language is gifts and receiving and giving gifts, if that's a love language of yours, this could be a really challenging topic to curb some of the financial pressures, if that's what you believe to do. So strategy around that is a little late now, unfortunately, but for next year's, you could look at buying it throughout the year and budgeting it every so much per month.
Yeah.
And just buying a gift.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like every now and then. So you're not putting it all at the end of the year, or putting a separate bank account away.
Yeah.
right? So it doesn't help you right now in this moment. However, it might help you for potentially next year.
Yeah, super.
And let's speak about family for a minute. Some families, awesome. They get along perfect. They love hanging out together and they're super close. Other families, maybe not so much.
And you never know.
And you never know.
Looking at it from the outside, it
That's
can
right.
look one way and it can be a different experience when
Correct.
you're living it.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about family. Like I love, like when I look at my family is really, really good. But there are people in the extended family where you just like, well, I don't know if I want to hang out with that person or this next person. And it's no fault of anything else. Just sometimes that they're just more difficult to be around. And that's, it's kind of across the board. I think every family has their moments in time when they're not driving or things just aren't as copacetic as they used to be or they once were or they would love
There
to
will be
be.
different values
Could be
and
different
there's a bit of a
values.
conflict around that.
So
And
what are
that's
some
okay.
So if you were to tell someone, what was a strategy you would employ there for dealing with maybe a difficult family member or someone who, you know, implodes that family gathering potentially?
Yeah, I know. And I mean, that's going to bring something and somebody into everybody's mind.
Right.
So a couple of things, I suppose. And the number one thing, given that this is going to be posted, I guess, a week or so before the holidays, is to really get curious as you're listening today, really get curious. How am I pre-paving in terms of my thinking when I'm anticipating meeting that person or that particular event or sat around a table with that particular person? Am I anticipating, and most of us will be going on past experience
100%.
and anticipating that it's going to be, challenging
sure.
or imploding or upsetting or whatever it is. And I think the invitation here is to pre-pave it in a different way. What if it could be different? What would you love? This is
Mhm.
the question we ask all the time. What would you love and part of you might love that person wouldn't be there at all. And maybe it's okay to create a vision for them not being there. I mean,
Absolutely.
not to wish them any harm, but you're just creating an event that doesn't include them in some way. But if they are going to be there, how can you pre-pave that event in your thinking in terms of what would that look like if it went really well? What would that look like if it was thoroughly enjoyable? What would that look like? What would the conversation be? And as we start to build that vision in terms of how we would love it to be different, and again, we look at, the longings and discontents and we shape that picture. And then I think the big kind of ask of us individually is, how do I need to be showing up in order for that to happen?
That's a great question.
So it's not all about, he or she can't, eat too much or be provocative in what they say. It's not all about them, but how do I need to be showing up to best support that? And some of that might be, I go a bit later, I might manage what I consume myself in terms of alcohol so that I'm not going to be triggered so easily. I might decide to leave early before the implosion happens. And if it's going to be, it's going to be, but I don't have to be there.
Correct. Yeah.
And really reminding ourselves, that other people get to be exactly how they want to be, but not on our time.
Right.
We don't have to stay for that. Or we can invite them to leave before it happens. Right. And taking control.
I agree. And I think, we have to understand too, is that, what would love do?
Yes.
And we have to understand we're all spiritual beings having a human experience.
Yes.
And we're depending upon the individual's level of awareness will depend upon how they react in certain situations. So if we understand that they're doing the best they can with what they have or what they know, then ultimately what happens is the power is gone, right? That whole all your compassionate side comes out and he goes, well, you know what, Uncle Joe, God bless his soul, but that's all he knows. And so he's doing the best he can with what he has. And so I think that's, a really key moment too, because you go from that, that conflict to a compassion, and then it's more loving. And then you don't have to accept the way he is or she is, or they are, but you can at least take the charge out of it for yourself.
Yeah, I was just going to say their behavior doesn't really change.
Yeah, it may not change
but
at all.
How you feel about it can be hugely different.
100%.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really key. something else someone told me one time, one of my mentors, his name is well, there's two of them. There's Dave Braun and Troy Amdahl. They sort of something's called Cult Ula. That's a lifestyle out of the States. And we were in a couple of their seminars, and they use something called suiting up. So they call it suiting up. And then it's like they envision themselves putting on a bubble wrap or an armor or some type of whatever you want to, however you want to visualize it. And you put that on when you walk into that, before you walk into that situation with that particular individual or group of individuals or whatever that looks like. And for that period of time, everything that's being said, whatever, is going to hit you and bounce off. And you're just going to just kind of show up there, do the stuff, be happy, and then leave.
Yeah.
It's great in the short term if you know, if you know you're going to be in a situation where you're not super thrilled to be there. And it is a strategy you guys, you can employ. If you have questions about that, by all means, reach out. We can have a further conversation on it. But it's basically what it is. It's just having a vision of, I've got a suit of armor. Those daggers aren't going to hit me.
Yeah.
It's just going to bounce off of me.
Actually, sometimes I call that, it's like your energetic bubble around you, and only love can penetrate.
Right.
And you can send out to the world the compassion and the love from you.
It reminds me of the saying when I was a kid, I am rubber, you are glue. Whatever you say to me bounces off me and sticks onto you.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's as a young kid, that was one of the sayings we used to say when someone was yelling nasties at you on the playground.
Yeah.
You say, well, I'm rubber, you're glue. So whatever you say to me bounces off of me and sticks onto you. It's silly, but it actually.
Yeah. And I guess as adults, we might say it bounces off and it just
goes away. It just goes away, right?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It just bounces off and falls off. No big deal.
Exactly.
So as I with the different liberal winners, I was like 8 years old when that was a saying. So.
Of course. Yeah. And it served you well, I'm sure, at the time. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. But we grow. We grow. So and what we're saying here, we're talking about it in the context of the holidays, but these ideas that, that bubble suit, that energetic bubble, the pre-paving, the what would love do here, this serves us, whether it's in a work situation or a family situation or, just with a stranger on the street, it'll all help.
Yeah,
it'll
exactly. Like if you, or even in traffic or whatever that looks like for you, like whatever that is, whatever that potential moment is, like, often we get cut off in traffic or something, and sometimes we flip to like, well, what the hell is that guy doing or that girl doing? But if you thought, well, that guy's getting to the hospital because his daughter is really, really sick,
correct,
or dying from something, maybe you might have some compassion for that person and open the road for them. So that just depends on that frame of mind, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that will lead into the office party or work function. Or I know there's a lot of that stuff that happens in the corporate world, especially.
That's right.
Even in like public service, like we still have gatherings or whatever through Christmas or whatever, but because it's like a time to come together and celebrate and share some libations and just kind of cap off the year.
Yeah.
But there's difficulties potentially there too.
They can go a bit pear-shaped, definitely. And I was just saying to you, I saw this morning an article on LinkedIn just kind of saying, be prepared for the office party. And especially if you're on the management side of things, to just think about, how can you set that up in a way that's going to make it safe for everybody and fun for everybody, but in appropriate ways. Appropriate ways. Yes. And for yourself, if again, if you find your office party a challenging experience, I mean, again, just to be able to make a decision around that. Do I need to go? Do I want to go? Can I give myself permission not to go? Or if I am going, how am I going to pre-pave that again? And having a strategy in place, a mindset in place, and a vision for how you want it to be. And maybe you just get out before the messiness starts, or maybe you just make a deal with your buddy that they're going to keep an eye on you, and you'll keep an eye on them, and you'll make safe choices for each other. Again, sometimes it can be great and it can be great fun and it's all harmless, and sometimes it's just not, and it is inappropriate. And being able to call that and know that you want to manage yourself and your energy, you want to be safe, and you want to make choices and decisions that empower that.
I think too, like, you think about Christmas and you think about all those things, and those strategies and all the stuff we've talked about here it really does apply to lots of areas of your life. It's not just the Christmas season. But we want the Christmas season, really. It's a joyous, it's a celebration, right? Like when you historically look at it, like, depending on where you're from in the world, we'll look at the reason why we have this celebration is for different reasons, but usually comes back to a celebration of new life
Yeah.
and a birthday of Jesus, if you believe in God, if that's something you believe in. If you don't, it's okay, no big deal. But I'm not trying to tell you what to believe. It's just that it's, historically speaking, it's always been about the gathering and the celebration around that,
Yes.
right? It's
Yeah.
about the celebrating that time. And I think that our calendar also, right, the end of the year, we're close to the new year,
Hmm.
right? Another year's been done. There's some reflecting going on.
That's
Hopefully you're
right.
reflecting on amazing things, and would love to see that to continue in the next year. Um, if you are reflecting and thinking, man, I didn't have the greatest year,
Hmm.
how do we make next year better?
Yes.
So ultimately, I think it's about finding people like yourself who are into the coaching and helping people through those moments, because really it's about creating something that's amazing. That's what we're doing right now in Jasper. We're creating the next year,
Yes.
and it's really, I think it's really important to know that this Christmas season can be full of absolute amazing joy and bliss, and you can have so much fun over the time, and you could really reduce your stress
Hmm.
just by putting in some of these things in practice,
Yes.
right?
And I think, you could do everything we just mentioned,
Yeah,
and you could get to one of those events and or in the preparation for it, and just you're feeling really stressed, you're feeling, it's not gone as you
yeah.
were intending. So again, just maybe reminding ourselves of ways in which we can manage our energy. If we find we're in that kind of downward spiral, what would be some of your go-tos in terms of shifting your energy?
Yeah, I mean, if you feel yourself being drugged down for whatever reason, like you're, oh man, and you're starting to realize, and the bills are coming, and the credit cards or statements are coming in, and you're like not quite feeling that. It's about changing that state. Like, I like to go to music. I love music.
Mhm.
Music is a big thing for me, to change my overall mental state, because I like to try to make decisions from an empowered place,
Mhm.
not from a place
Of course,
of
stress.
struggle or stress, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's really key to just change that. And so I think for me, it's music, changing that, getting out of that my headspace.
Mhm.
Other thing I do, I'm First Nations in Canada. I don't look it. I look Irish. My mom's Irish, so hey, there we go. But I smudge, right? So I take a bowl and I just smudge. I just do the ceremony, and I just sort of get my head clear, and then I start
Great.
making decisions. So
Yeah.
I mean, what's your go-to on the changing state on the?
So for me, probably get out in fresh air,
Hmm?
or, just jump up and down, or, just like run up and down the stairs. It doesn't matter. Stick my head out the window, just, get a bit of fresh
Yeah,
air into the lungs. Um, I mean, if I've got longer time, I might go for a swim or something. But in the moment, it would be music as well. Just put on some high frequency music, dance around the room to it. Um, yeah, they'd be kind of the main go-tos. And of course, shifting to the vision. I mean, I would always say that, or an affirmation, that everything is always working out for me. And this is just what it looks like while it's all working out.
yeah,
And I'm the woman who's on her way to a great Christmas, or,
yeah.
a great financial end to the year,
Right.
or whatever it is. Yeah.
And I think too, like, we are all going to have ups and downs. I think in life, at different seasons, different times of the year, we're going to have those moments in life where we're like, man, but doesn't mean that you're not an amazing person, or you're not in an amazing place. Like, you can be. It's just where you are, right? And it's not who you are. So remember that. So when you
Yeah.
come to the end and maybe it's a struggle, maybe it's not a struggle, maybe you're just not happy, you're not 100% content with where you're at. That's okay. That discontent means that you're growing, or there's a desire to grow.
Yeah.
And that also means that if you're aware of the discontent, if you're like, I'm not really feeling it, then you can make the changes, or you have the option to make changes,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And like I say, once again, I've said this on one of our previous podcasts, is that it's not who you are, it's just where you are,
Yeah. I love that.
right? Just where
I
you
love
are,
that.
right? And the journey is always forward,
Yeah.
and you can pre-pave a whole brand new road if you want to pre-pave a road, right? And some of these things
Absolutely.
can help. And And the Christmas season is a time for that reflection. It is time for that family. It's time to just sort of like maybe now is the time to ask the question, what would I love?
Hmm. Yeah. What would I love?
Yeah.
And, just to say as well, some of those strategies we were saying about, music or movement or fresh air or whatever it is. And sometimes, if you're about to go out the door to the party that you don't want to go to, you don't necessarily have time for all of that, but you could play the music in the car, definitely. But I just want to say for all of us, one conscious breath, one
Yes.
conscious breath,
took the words-
it brings us back.
Took it right off my tongue. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was thinking as you were saying it.
Yeah. Like what, 15 seconds?
Yeah.
And you can shift everything
Yeah.
in terms of how it feels, where you're at, and shifting the thinking. Now you can make that choice to go to what would I
agree.
love?
I agree. Yes, because once you do that breath, you've grounded yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
Change your energy. So you've raised that vibration a little bit. And now you can, how am I going to show up today? Who am I going to be in this moment?
Yeah.
Right. As we shift forward, you're going to see us again right after Christmas. And so we're going to have a midpoint conversation about the after Christmas potential letdown blues or the gear up for the new year.
Yeah. And maybe wrapping up
And
the
maybe
year
wrap
a
up the
bit.
year a little bit, maybe. But ultimately, like I say, we want you guys to have the most amazing Christmas. Please do. Please enjoy your family, enjoy your time together, celebrate each other, look back, celebrate the wins, big, small. This is the time to do it. If you're going to do it, now is the time. You'll hear it lots, and you'll see the songs, and you'll hear, all those things that happen over the Christmas season and New Year's season. And, even in sports, right? They go back and they count down the 100 best plays and the 100 worst plays, right? And so all the it's countdown season in a way, right? It's recap season. And the reason why they do that is because that's what we should be doing in our own life too, is look back at all the greatest things that ever happened over the last year. I focus on all the good things. And then I start thinking about all the great things I want to do next year, because if I had something that I didn't quite enjoy, I would have thought to change that for next year. And really now is the time to think about that and just cherish your family. We love our listeners. We love you all. We want you to have the best season and the best life you can absolutely have ever. And we want you to continue to grow and just embrace all of that. I think that's amazing, because we all can. And so please, from my heart to yours, have the best Christmas time and Christmas season. Anything else you want to close with?
No, just to say the same, just and make it great, whatever great looks like for you, and know that you have that power within you to just make it a great holiday, because you get to choose your thinking, you get to choose how you're showing up, and you get to make your choices and decisions. So have a great time.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't ever compare. Just be who you are. Be who you are. Be what you want to be. Be who you want to be. And things will be great for you. So I'm so excited for the next year.
Yeah. With us in their back pockets on
I
their,
know.
on their,
Yeah,
on their podcast.
It's going to be awesome.
Be awesome.
I'm looking forward to it. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate you all. Have a great Christmas. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, and we'll pick this back up at that time.